Good evening, everyone. I'm Jonna Quinn, the Director of Alumni Relations at Gwynedd Mercy University. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, our Griffins at Home virtual event is What is Your Love Language? How Identifying Your Love Language Can Change Your Relationships. And so please note we are recording this session and it will be made available most likely early next week on our Griffins at Home website. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Katie Starrantino, who is a 2012 graduate with her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. She's a licensed social worker with a Master's in Social Work from Westchester University and a Master's in Human Sexuality Education from Widener University. Katie works full-time in the healthcare field as the Director of Wellness Initiatives at Friends Life Care. She works part-time as a therapist with BetterHelp, where she specializes in intimacy and relationship counseling. Katie is passionate about wellness and particularly about the health benefits of maintaining close relationships with loved ones. So please help me welcome Katie. Take it away, Katie.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen here. Everyone, I want this to be as interactive as you want it to be. Very low pressure, very low stakes, but I'm really excited to see you here because it shows me that you care about making positive change in your relationship. So I'm excited to talk about that today. First, I'm going to start with a shameless introduction of me because I paid a lot of money for this headshot. And so wherever I can put it somewhere, I'm going to put it somewhere. So as Gianna mentioned, I had such a great experience at Gwynedd where I got my bachelor's in psychology. And I had an adjunct professor there. And I told her I wanted to be a therapist. She was a therapist. And I asked, what if you could do something differently, what would you have done? And she said, I would get my master's in social work because then you can do anything. You could do therapy, but you also have other options. So I'm happy I did that because it took me kind of into the healthcare field. And when I started working in healthcare, I started out at a cancer nonprofit, and I moved from there to nursing homes, rehab facilities, insurance companies. And what I was shocked by is that nobody talks to people as they age or as they end up in the healthcare system about intimacy. And that's such a big part of who we are, these relationships. So I went back to school to get a master's in human sexuality education, and I did the sex therapy track. So that's kind of my specialty in the therapy world. And now I work also part-time with BetterHelp as a therapist. Couples and relationships, again, are my specialty. My email's here. Gianna will have it. If there's anything that comes up that you ever want to chat about, please shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk with you. Okay, so we are approaching Valentine's Day, and I think this is a great topic, but this presentation is for everyone. It's not just for people with partners because we all have relationships, right? So that might be a relationship with a romantic partner or with a family member or with a coworker or with a friend. What you're going to learn today is going to benefit you in all those realms. I thought we would start off with a little Valentine's Day trivia before we kind of hop into things. And you can feel free to type in the chat, unmute yourself, or if you don't want to answer at all, I will probably very quickly figure that out and share the answer. Cupid has what name in Greek mythology? Anyone? Thinking on it? Okay. CT to shake it right. Oh, oops, that is Eros. About how many roses are sent for Valentine's Day each year?
3 million.
Okay, it's a good guess. Anyone else? All right. Well, just a little off to the 3 million. What fruit used to be known as a love apple for its aphrodisiac properties? That one is a hard one. I'll give you that answer.
The pomegranate?
That was a good one, Tina. A tomato. And then here's our final one. Speed dating. When did that come on the scene? I will go to the answer for you here. 1998, actually. Yeah, surprise.
Oh, it was before that.
Yeah, I would think, I don't know. I guess I thought it would be a little later. But now that we're all warmed up with some trivia, I'm gonna let you know what we'll talk about today. So we did a little introduction. We're going to talk about what are the love languages. We're going to review each of them so you can gain an understanding of what yours is, and then maybe what your loved one's is as well. And then we're going to talk about how to implement those in your life to build stronger, better, healthier relationships. Okay. So a love language are essentially the way we communicate, the way we give and receive love. So if you are talking to somebody who speaks Italian, for example, and you're frustrated that they're not getting it, well, of course they're not getting it because you're not speaking in their language. And then they come back to you and they're trying to speak with you, but you're missing each other. And that can happen very frequently with people we love. And that's why we're going to explore these love languages. And I think actually I have a video here, but I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I forgot to share my audio and I want you to be able to hear this. Let me pop back on here. Okay. So here's kind of an example of not speaking the same language, a quick funny clip here.
We have to fill these out.
Can everyone hear that? Good, okay.
Describe illness or injury.
I dislocated my shoulder.
All right. And how did the accident occur?
You already know that.
Cause of accident, lack of adhesive ducts. Okay, medical history. Have you ever been diagnosed with diabetes?
No.
Kidney disease?
No.
Migraines?
Getting one.
Are you currently pregnant?
No.
Are you sure? You look a bit puffy.
Change migraine to yes.
When was your last menstrual period?
Oh, next question.
I'll put in progress. Okay, moving to psychiatric disorders. List all major behavioral diagnoses, e.g. depression, anxiety, etc.
Oh my God, what the hell does this have to do with my stupid shoulder?
Episodes of subpsychotic rage.
Ass.
Possible Tourette's. Right, moles, lesions, or other skin conditions. Soup tattoo on right buttock.
Okay, Sheldon, look, I am scared and in a lot of pain. Could you please take a break from being you for just a minute and try being, I don't know, comforting?
I'm sorry. They're there. Everything's going to be fine. Sheldon's here.
Thanks, that's much better.
Okay. So they probably go into the hospital with the same goal, right? He's there to support her. He wants her to feel better. But the problem is he is coming at things, the way he communicates is very intellectual, very, let's get the job done. Let's accomplish these tasks. And she's feeling really emotional and she's wanting to be comforted and be told that everything's okay. So this is an example of how we can kind of lose each other in relationships. And again, I'm going to use relationships, but I don't always mean with a romantic partner. That can be absolutely anything. We have relationships with tons of different people. Go to the next one here. Okay, so if you're interested, once we are done talking today, the 5 love languages are from the book, The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman. And here's what they are. Words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Now let's take a look at them a little more in depth and see what resonates with you. So if you are a person that feels so happy when you get those compliments or encouraging words, when you are appreciated verbally, you are probably a words of affirmation person. And if that is you, I'd like you to just take a quick second and think, what would you need to hear from the person you love to just fill your cup completely? Like, what would be the most amazing thing to hear from that person you love? And later on, we're going to talk about how to ask for that, which can be a little scary, but very important. Now, you might be thinking, well, I know that my sister seems to really like when I compliment her or something like that. If your loved one's language is words of affirmation, you can set a goal to give them a compliment each day for a month. Ideally, you want to mix up the compliments and not reuse the same one. And what I like so much about that goal is that's actually not only benefiting the person you love in the relationship, but it's really good for you because the research shows that practicing gratitude has tremendous benefits for us. And by complimenting somebody every day, that's expressing gratitude for the relationship. So that's excellent. The other thing is giving that compliment in the presence of people that they love. I mean, that's taking it to a whole nother level. Not only are you acknowledging this thing about them, but you're kind of screaming it from the top of a mountain. And it's really special to do that. So that's another option to show a person who's a words of affirmation person. And then finally, if this person is maybe a long distance person, email, text, just, reach out that way with a word of affirmation, something you appreciate about them. Quality time. This one gets confused a lot, I find, especially in couples counseling work. I'll have a couple and the one person will say, well, we watch Netflix all the time together. I don't understand why he doesn't think we're not getting enough quality time. If you're both watching something on your phones, not paying attention, that is not the undivided attention that makes up quality time. Quality time, focused attention, quality conversation, being really engaged with one another. New activities or any activity together, that is quality time. And that is something I really like to touch on, especially in couples work, because you may remember in the beginning stages of a romantic relationship, that kind of honeymoon stage. And you will probably, if you're in a long enough relationship, also remember when that went away, which usually starts around 2 to 3 years, actually. And the reason why is because in those early stages, our brains are filled with dopamine, filled with all these endorphins, all these good things all the time. And our brains cannot continue to do that for years and years and years, 5, 10, 15 years. So what happens is that stops and we move from compassionate love to companionate love. And that's when you start to see your loved one, as a friend as well. So doing a new activity, a novel activity together, that starts to bring back those good neurotransmitters that we talked about, because we're bringing something new back, just like when you met your loved one. So that's an excellent thing. If you are feeling like, yeah, that is probably my love language, you can ask your loved one to do something new with you, or you can let them know that I learned this today. And I'll talk more about that at the end, about how to implement this with your loved one. But if you're feeling like your loved one's love language is quality of time, have them make a list of activities they want to do with you and then plan one of them. And that is a double whammy for them, because not only are you acknowledging their love language and asking for that list, but you're giving the focused attention that it takes to make that plan and put it in place, which is awesome. And then especially for those of us that maybe are across the country from our family or whatever loved one, or in a different state, there's other ways you can do quality time. You can send them a picture and say like, oh, this happened at work today and it was so funny. Just something to bring them into what's happening in your world and connect that way. Okay, gifts. I feel like this one is often misconstrued, and to be honest, I feel bad for the gifts love language people, because I think that sometimes their loved ones think of them like, oh, all they want is just gifts. They just want me to buy them things. That's not necessarily what it is. They do love that, people whose love language is gifts, but shifting it to thinking of gifts as a token of love, that's really how they're seeing it. So if you can reframe it that way for yourself, you can think about what gifts can you give without spending money. You can get creative in that realm. One thing I always recommend is if you're going for a walk and you see a beautiful flower or a feather, anything that reminds you of them, that's something that's free that you can bring back and say, I thought of you. You can keep a gift idea notebook. That is something that I do for my partner, even though he is not a gift person. I don't know why I do it, but I keep everything he mentions as he might like. And then when there's an opportunity for a gift, I remember that he said that. Another really meaningful way can be to gift to their favorite nonprofit organization. That I think lets them know you're listening, you know what their values are. That's an excellent way to gift. And maybe this resonates with you. Maybe gifts are your love language. Maybe this is something you'd like to see from your loved one. Acts of service are essentially doing the things you know that your loved one wants you to do. And I don't know if there's research behind it. I don't think that there is research behind this, but I think especially in media, we see a lot this kind of depiction of the heterosexual couple, and the woman is waking up early with the kids, getting them to school, coming home, cleaning, going to work, cooking dinner, right? And then she has nothing left to give to her partner at the end of the day. So acts of service in that situation: can her partner pick up the kids? Can he help around the house? Can he do the dishes? Things like that. Those are acts of service. And I give that example just because I think it's commonly depicted, but it really can be absolutely anything. You and your roommate, you and your things like that. The acts of service can be anywhere. So a nice way, if you think your loved one's language is acts of service, is give them a little card. Today, I will show my love to you by, and what's something that they're looking for you to do. That's such a meaningful thing for them. Okay, and now physical touch. Physical touch, cuddling, holding hands, kissing. That if those things are things your loved one is always kind of reaching out, grabbing you, then it's probably physical touch for them. But it actually can be a little more than that. It can also be just tactile type thing. So if your loved one really likes cozy slippers, or kind of to be wrapped in a blanket or something to that effect, then they might be somebody who has a physical touch as their love language. And here's some ideas at the bottom here. Again, you'll notice that second bullet, engaging in that love language when you're with other people, really meaningful to them. We talked about that with words of affirmation and giving compliments in public, but when you're out in public, grabbing their hand, putting your arm around their shoulder, just letting them know you're there and you love them. You don't even need to say anything, because that's how they perceive the love. I feel like I'm running through this, Gianna, and I'm sorry. Well, okay. So maybe you've listened to all of this and you think, well, I think I'm this one, but I also kind of feel like I'm this one. Or maybe you're thinking about your loved one. They seem like that, but they also seem like that. Well, that's because you can be more than just one. Normally there's one or two tied for first, and then you kind of said, well, this is the most important to me, but then I like this and that and the other thing. And that's okay. It's good to just be aware of what your love language is, and really good to be aware of what your loved one's love language is as well. And I'm going to pause on this slide for a second, because there's actually a quiz you can take online to be sure of what your love language is. Also, if you just Google love languages, 5 love languages quiz, it'll come up. But this is a website from the author, so it is pretty legitimate. So if you're interested, you can try that quiz there. And maybe encourage your loved one to take that quiz too. See some people writing, so I'll give another minute. I often, when I do couples work, I often assign this as homework, because I really want to make sure we're all on the same page about whatever, how everybody is receiving and giving love in the relationship. Okay. So now we move on to kind of a harder piece here. So now you might have identified what your love language is, but we are not great at asking for what we need. We just aren't. And especially in romantic relationships, I think that there is an idea for a lot of us that, like, oh, this person is so special because they just know what I want. I don't even need to ask for it. We're just always on the same page. I never even need to tell them. I don't know that that's a great thing. I don't think that, I think that we should not ask our loved ones to have a crystal ball. We should communicate our needs to them. But all that to say, I know that it's challenging. It's challenging for me too. So let's talk about it. So first and foremost, you deserve to ask for what you need. And overwhelmingly, the people that love you are going to be happy to give that to you. But some ways to do that are to make sure you approach the conversation with an I feel statement. So that could actually be a positive, letting them know something positive they're doing related to your love language. So for that second bullet there, we could say, I feel appreciative when you did the grocery shopping because I've been really overwhelmed at work. That reinforces to that person that you like that they should do more of that. We could do it the other way, or I feel lonely when you don't make time to go for a walk with me after work because I feel like that's a time for us to connect. And I feel like, look at me again, I feel it's a very therapist, thing, I feel, but it takes away the potential for defensiveness from the person you're speaking with, because that's how you feel. Nobody can argue how you feel right now. Sometimes it'll be funny in sessions. I'll see people say, I feel like you are being a jerk, because it's like, well, that's not a feeling. You don't feel like someone's being a jerk. Let's go back. What are you feeling? I feel angry. I feel, that's what it is. So that's the I feel statements, I think, are a great way to talk about it. The next bullet, passive versus aggressive versus assertive. So if I'm talking to Gianna and I'm like, I just feel like it would be really nice if we, but we don't have to, but I would like it. Okay, passive. That's not asking for what you want. And if you find yourself falling into that camp, I would really encourage you to explore that. Why that is challenging for you. Do you not feel safe to say it? Why is it so hard for you to ask what you need for what you need? Now, aggressive. If I say it to, like the example I was given before, if I say to Gianna, you never do this, and I'm so sick of this, and I don't know how many times I have to ask you, well, that's not going to get us anywhere either, right? So you want to be assertive, and that's kind of the beautiful middle there. I would really like to go for a walk with you to reconnect. Can we do that Tuesday at 5:30 when you're done work? Oh, Tuesday at 5:30 doesn't work? What day and time work for you this week? Very assertive, beautiful. Nobody's offended by that, and you're getting your need across. And finally, when having these discussions, you're going to focus on the person, not, I put that wrong. Focus on the person, not the problem. I apologize. And for people watching this, switch it around. But that's very important, because you never want the person to feel defensive. So for example, an acts of service person, the problem is that life is overwhelming right now, and that you need a little help, a little more help with things around the house. That's the problem. It's not your roommate that's the problem. I hope that makes sense. So let's, try to phrase it that way when we have conversations, and will be very helpful. Okay, now if you're on the other side of it, maybe you learned something today about your loved one and you'd really love to talk with them about what you think their love language is, and if you're doing a good job in that arena, if you could do better. So you want to be an ally to them. You want to say something to the effect of, I went to a lecture tonight and this is what I learned. And this is what I thought your love language was, but I would love to hear what you think. And ask those open-ended questions. Oh, you're a words of affirmation person. What things would you like to hear from me? How could I do more of that? Now, I think overall those conversations will go very well, but you also want to ensure that you're utilizing self-care. So I'm sure there is a chance in some far place that somebody could say, no, you do a terrible job at that. And you know what? So after you've opened this conversation, make sure afterwards, no matter how the conversation goes, you have some time for yourself to kind of nurture yourself. And if that's going for a walk or listening to music or journaling, whatever that is. Okay. So the emotional bank account is one of my last few topics I want to mention that I think is really important. In any relationship you have, so say with your supervisor at work, if you are asking questions and calling them and, I really need something right now, can you help me with this? You are taking withdrawal from their emotional bank account. And that's fine, especially at work. We need to do that sometimes. But when did you make your last deposit? When did you call and say, I really appreciate you being so available to me and teaching me a lot. I admire you. I think you're very talented in your role, and I appreciate all that you do for me. Or my day is actually pretty slow today. I know you were a little overwhelmed. Is there anything I could take off your plate? Making that deposit. Always think about that in your relationships. Are you withdrawing too much? Or, are you not getting the deposits that you deserve? Okay, now we're going to go to a little, I feel like I'm a science teacher here because I'm going to give a little experiment. So there are pint people and there are teacup people. So teacup people. So for example, maybe this is all you have to give, right? You have so much to give. And then here's your teacup person. And whoop, you're going to give everything you have to give to them. And see, now we're spilling over. And I have a bowl under here. But you're still going. You still have a lot to give. And now you're expecting that back from the other person, right? And I'm not going to show you this because I'm not sure I can, but you can trust me. They pour back from their teacup and we're not full, right? We started full, but now we're halfway full. So I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is we expect everything from one person. We expect our partners to be our best friends, but we also want them to be novel and spontaneous, and we want them to know everything about us, but we still want to be able to surprise them. And maybe you expect that of your friends or someone else in your life. Really think about who's filling your cup, and it shouldn't be coming all from one person, and you shouldn't be the only person filling someone else's cup too. It's exhausting. So I only spilled a little bit of that water, which I'm very proud of. I believe that, one more, I think, slide here. These are just a few things to take with you. And I really love this quote: how you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. It's around Valentine's Day. We're talking about love languages in terms of relationships with other people, but really the most important relationship you have is with yourself. And really, like, what is your own love language? If your love language is words of affirmation, when's the last time you told yourself that you were deserving, that you're good at what you do, that you're, when is the last time you gave that to yourself? So that's my first takeaway for you, is really would love you to focus on that. But in terms of relationships with others, the Small Things Often podcast, if you listen to podcasts, excellent. It's 3 to 4 minutes every morning. It's incredible. I could talk all day about it, but I won't. And a great book, if you like to read, is Wired for Love. That is going to talk about attachment styles. It's a whole other lecture, but to give you an idea, if you haven't heard of attachment styles, the first attachment we have is usually to our caregiver. That's generally a parent. And what happens there impacts the relationships we have later in life. And it's an incredible book. So learning about your attachment style, learning about your partner's attachment style, or someone else you love, their attachment style, very helpful. Okay, and then I would love to open it up to questions, to interact with you. Any comments you have, I'd love to chat.
Do you see one love language more than another, or are they all kind of equal?
No, that's a good question. I definitely would say I generally see women be more words of affirmation or acts of service people. And I almost hate to say this because I feel like it's so stereotypical, but generally I do see men be more physical touch as their one of their top love languages. But I mean, and then there's people that aren't, but generally.
If you're in a relationship where you receive love in one way, but your partner gives love in another way, is it impossible or difficult to figure that relationship out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Just make it, compatible some way.
Yeah, it's hard. My partner is an acts of service person and I am a words of affirmation person. And we actively work at it. I just told him, I literally said to him the other day, what do you admire about me? That's okay, because I was needing to hear that, and we're on the same page now. But yeah, I think you actively have to work at it. And it's also like anything else. I mean, I think we've learned this idea that we should just know and our partner should just know. And now we have to unlearn that and learn that we have to work at it every day. So it's a good question. Anybody else? Well, if you think of anything else, I know Gianna will have my contact information, but I really, really enjoyed talking to you. I think that this was a timely, obviously, with February, and it's something I'm very passionate about. So thanks for letting me come and speak with you today.
Well, thank you so much, Katie. We appreciate having you, and thank you everybody for joining us. Again, this session will be posted probably early next week, and this is recorded. So if you'd like to revisit what we've discussed today, please feel free to visit us at our Griffins at Home series on the website. I would like to let you know that the university is in the midst of a Hearts of Mercy campaign, which benefits our students, and I would encourage you to consider supporting the program if you would. Information can be found on our Facebook page as well as the website, or at www.gmercu.edu/Hearts of Mercy. It's a fun program. You can see where your class falls, and we would appreciate any support, and we appreciate you being here as well. So our next Griffins at Home is scheduled for Wednesday, April 6th at 7 p.m. And it is on creative ways to update your resume and cover letter. So if you or someone you know has any interest in that, please feel free to share. And this isn't for alumni, or it can be for friends only. As well, not only alumni, friends of the university, students, and anyone who is interested. And for our alumni, just so that you know, that our career development office is open to you free of charge. So any type of career services that you might need, whether it's resume review or help with tips on interviewing, that is at your disposal free of charge, and you would just need to contact them to make an appointment. And I just want to say thank you again and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, Katie.